Hello, dear starshines. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of the Lunchtime Chats. We'll give everybody a moment to get on board. In the meantime, for those of you who are new listening to this recording, my name is Christina, and I am an acceleration expert. That is a consciousness acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have capacities, we have abilities that are not necessarily embraced by our larger human family. Therefore, we have very unique perspectives about the kinds of things going on in this beautiful, amazing, chaotic, changing world that we are in right now. So I am here to do, to the best of my ability, to provide a liberated perspective to these challenges and hopefully to help you navigate these chaotic, confusing times with sovereignty, with grace, and hopefully with some level of ease where possible. Hello, dear brother Starshine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Go ahead, say hi. Let me know you're here. Hey, you made it live right for the beginning. That's awesome, Darren. Good to see you. We have very interesting things to talk about, to touch on today. But before I get into the topics, I want to say happy solstice to all of you. I hope everybody had some time and space to sit with themselves and meditate and reflect on this moment in time. This is a rhythm within the solar cycle, and this is a very poignant moment within that solar cycle because this is where the old solar cycle, that is the previous year, that sun sets, and the sunrise is the beginning of a brand new solar cycle. So a brand new year, so to speak. So the kinds of things you are aware of, your intentions, desires, fears, whatever, are very important because they are, let's say, the interdimensional doorways are wide open for your inner self to connect with all that is, and you can amplify and broadcast in a much stronger, more potent way what it is you want to desire for yourself and humanity to bring into your experience during this next solar cycle. I know I shared this. Where did I share this link? I shared this link in the community. There's a global peace initiative that's going all day today, and they're calling for everybody to spend time. They say praying for peace. I don't necessarily agree with that kind of frame up, but what I would say is that it's a wonderful moment to sit with what it is for you to be in peace, to know peace within oneself. And that is a perfect segue for the kinds of topics that I'm going to bring up for today. Okay, so I wrote a few things down because things were coming up in our labs, in our clinic, in the academy, and folks were like, "Ooh, write this down, so we can talk about it." So there's one very strong message that continually is repeating itself, and that is focus all of your energies and letting go of the old. Now, and I know we might hear this and say, oh yeah, it's a time to let go, la 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 la. But because this is coming in the way that it's coming in, with strength and with it has a resounding echo to it, that is indicating to me that we need to let that go very deep inside of us. It's not just a surface level awareness of what it is you need to let go, but it's really to dig deep, look within, and really get to the bottom, the deepest that you can get, to recognize what's important for you to let go of the old. And also, because it's coming in the way that's coming in, I have this feeling, this sense arising that it's really, really important for us to let go of how things used to be in many different ways, in order for us to be less susceptible for manipulations that the ground is getting laid for right now. Because as we know, the powers that be, beyond, there's the let's say the organic, natural, cosmic flow of life, and then there's overlays upon that, and there's certain powers that be that have overlays that are, I want to say, destructive, and are not necessarily able to make this leap into this next place in our evolution. So therefore, it's like, they're going down, they're, fighting to the end, so to speak. So this thing about holding on to the past and how things used to be, I want to examine this a little bit more in our chats today, so we can perhaps discover something that we are attached to that we didn't know we were attached to, perhaps, or maybe we can recognize how certain things that we are attached to get leveraged, how we can recognize we're being leveraged, stuff like that. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the conversation. Hello, dear sister Beverly. Please let me know if the sound is okay. I know I'm not wearing my headset, but this is an inside breezy, quiet place. So our non-breezy, quiet place. I'm hoping the sound is okay. Please let me know. I can't put my headset on if it's better. Hello, dear sister behind my eyes and storylines. Good to see you, Starshine. Hi, Sherry. Happy solstice to you as well. Okay, good. Thank you, Beverly, for letting me know that. Awesome. All right. So letting go of the past, solar cycles. Okay, I have to talk a little bit about lunar cycles as well within this. So in the chats of the past several months, I've been talking a lot about ancestral work, ancestral healing, and the importance of it. So there's the importance of it as far as we carry those ancestral patterns within our biosuit, and therefore that's kind of like, that's the deck of cards, so to speak, that we have to play in this life unfoldment. And that the more we can heal and bring forgiveness to these different aspects, woundings within our ancestry, that liberates us in a way. It kind of like gives us aces in our deck, so to speak, depending on what card game you're playing, of course. And then there's also the significance of clearing the ancestral wounding, so we can have more space and clarity and assistance in that next nesting doll of the invisible world that we open to as our psychic intuitive abilities develop. And then, of course, there's the soul's journey part, because there is an understanding that, the ancestral patterns that we chose to get incarnated through also have a resonance within our soul's journey as well. So as we heal and clean up things within our ancestry, we're also liberating things on our soul's journey and through our akasha and beyond. So ancestor work, goes very deep and has been a major theme in the chats. And it is in a lot of ways culminating to our here and now solar cycle, because all that work we've done, we've gained a lot of I want to say ancestral support for this moment here. So when we're reflecting, we can, and when we're going deep inside of ourselves, we can call on a lot of help, a lot of different kinds of space to be held for us, so we can get to deeper places we normally wouldn't get to. And it's really helpful to have beings that have a vested interest in you liberating yourself. Right now, there is a lot of concern about the wars, plural, going on this planet. And, I try not to talk much about that, because to me, and the understanding that I have of us as multidimensional beings, is that, these wars are a result of our collective inner battle that we have going on. We are born with a lot of, unresolved ancestral stuff. Therefore, in a lot of ways, we're born already poised to be in battle with ourselves. And the more we push things away and make things wrong and, do all these things, the more strife is held, more of that polarity intensity is held within us. And we have a society that does this, and therefore we have societies, plural, cultures, plural, that say it's okay to go to war. It's okay to drop bombs on people. It's okay to have innocent bystanders. It's okay to, have a reason to cause mass destruction. And I'm of the perception that it's never okay to do that. It's never okay to do that. And if we do feel like we need to do that, there's a lot of very close examination that needs to happen with all parties. And of course, our leadership is not necessarily caring about this. Our leadership is more about, making profits and keeping control. What's great is that more of us are waking up to this game. But what is interesting is that what I'm realizing now, especially with the La Cucaracha dance that came onto the scene, I feel like now that was paving the way to strengthen the conflict, so the momentum can be turned into more war, like external battles and stuff like this. So I'm saying this so we can take this very seriously into our own inner practice at this time, because the solar cycle that's coming, many people talk about this, and I don't like to talk about what's to come, because for me, what's to come is all decided about how we show up in our here and now, right? So, but there are probabilities, there are timelines that start to thicken in the mists of potential. And there are some very clear thickenings in the midst of potential that's coming into my awareness. And this is something that I want to try to bring into your guys' awareness without planting the seed in such a way where you're going to contribute into creating some of these timelines. I would prefer that you guys, really take the here and now moment very seriously and work it to the best of your ability now, and then let what the timeline you're on be a surprise. Let it be a reveal. Because when we do deep inner work, it does absolutely show in our external world. And there's a quote by Gandhi that gets repeated over and over again. I used to say it all the time. In fact, it's my tagline in my email, and it's be the change. And that is a segment out of a larger quote, which is be the change you want to see in the world. And this is something that is absolutely the truth, but has been trivialized by, different circles, spiritual circles. And, but we need to bring it back to that. There's all these circles that want to pray for peace, and they're praying for perhaps an external peace, not realizing that the reality of this external conflict is something that is inside of here. And I said this in a couple other chats. I'm going to say it again because it's really important that we recognize that our world is highly polarized, and there's overlays and complementary opposites, the polarity fields. That is how reality does work here, but there's overlays that supercharge distortions. So if you're in one side or the other, you're locked in the distortion. And this war peace polarity is something in a distortion. What changes the polarity is not exaggerating one side or the other, but it is finding the third point in the dynamic. What is the third point in the dynamic? And that is forgiveness. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. And if we listen very closely to the narratives, particularly of the ones going on in the Middle East, on why either side is completely justified in the battle that they're in, we will see that it's rooted in pain, it's rooted in trauma, it's rooted in vengeance, it's rooted in an eye for an eye attitude. And again, to quote Gandhi, if an eye for an eye was the truth, the whole world would be blind. And this is in resonance for sure for me. I mean, you guys can check in with you. Is that something that resonates for you? If it is, this is an excellent gateway to start in your reflection. And that's because a lot of us don't want to admit how we are at war with ourselves and how we are inside of ourselves willing to cause harm. So a great example would be, getting back at somebody who's done something terrible to you, or, there's some sort of trauma that was inflicted upon you, and now you want to get back at them. Sometimes getting back means holding back love. Sometimes getting back means just cutting them completely out of your life and tossing their existence to the curb. Sometimes getting back at is, triangulating, talking to all these other people so they have a bad attitude towards that person. Now, every human does this in some way. And I know the all in, to use extremes like that is not necessarily the most accurate way to put it, but I am putting it this way so you guys don't think it's okay to exclude yourself out of this dynamic, because it's not true. And if you're the stronger you sit inside of yourself that it is true, then that's your own stubbornness getting in the way of creating deeper peace inside of yourself. Okay. Hello, darlings. Hello, Carol. Hello, Tony. Good to see you guys. So this is a wonderful moment to take this deeper. And I would recommend, if you don't know where to go in taking this deeper, make a list of all the people, all the beings, all the scenarios, all the groups that you perceive having done harm to you personally, or having done harm to humanity in general, or having done harm to a particular group of people you identify with. Make a list of that. And then bring all of those individuals / groups on your list, okay? One by one, bring them all into a multidimensional forgiveness practice, okay? Now, I say multidimensional forgiveness practice because it's not just a matter of saying, oh, I forgive you, or oh, I want to forgive you. No. You need to open up the fields beyond time and space, work in concert with your ancestors, work in concert with your spirit guide team, with your entourage team, work in concert with the inner cosmos universe, and call on forgiveness. Call on forgiveness to transpire between you and your people and the other that is perceived as causing harm. Okay. This practice will take you much more deep than, just sitting there and and just saying, I forgive you, or will you forgive me? It's like, it's more than the willingness. It's actually summoning the energy. We have this capacity as multidimensionals. And, a lot of this includes religious groups. There are many sects within humanity that has had great harm in their experience based off of religious motivations. A very recent one, well, we have a recent one right now going on, but even before that, there was the genocide that happened in Africa. I think it was between the Mahuts and the Tutsis, both Islamic, but both different sects of Islam, and they did awful atrocities to each other. And then we have the massacres that happened in Bosnia, and that was the Catholic Serbs ethnically cleansing, so to speak, that area, and they committed terrible atrocities to innocent men, women, and children. And the way they found peace was they divided the country. So it's not Bosnia anymore, it's Bosnia and Herzegovina, one country, but two sections, a Catholic section and an Islamic section. So, you can bring in larger groups like this. Then of course you have all the terrible things that the Catholic Church has done, from the Inquisition to the pedophilia, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to list it. You guys already know all this stuff. I'm bringing this up because it's really, really important that we get real with ourselves. Because what we're not willing to own, take responsibility for, what we're not willing to look at and acknowledge is a weak spot where it can be leveraged against us to manipulate us into doing something we normally wouldn't do. Okay. And this is what we saw unfold in the La Cucaracha dance that the world was dancing for a while and still is dancing in certain places. And this dance is, using people's Achilles heels, where they had to concede and give in to things that they normally would not do. It broke families apart. It broke spiritual circles apart. It broke, what used to be peaceful neighborhoods apart. There's a lot of communities that became fractured from the steps of this dance. And, and that's all because there were things inside people weren't able to own and take responsibility for, and therefore it became leverage. It became leverage to push people into a corner to make a decision they normally wouldn't make. And during this time, from today for the next week, is the opportunity to use the celestial positions, the celestial alignments, to take this intention of bringing forgiveness deep, 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 deep into your being, in through your ancestry, throughout time and space. Okay, because there is still this feeling in the collective. So I haven't been in the US for a while. I'm in the US now. And now that I'm back here, I can feel this feeling in the collective where people are longing just for things to go back to normal. They just want it to go back to normal, whatever normal was for them. And there's this undercurrent that I sense. It's really strong that no, Kansas has gone bye-bye. There is no going back. There is no normal. We are just going to go more into chaos and change, and there is no going back to how things were. And if we're not ready for that, then as a collective, then we're going to do things we normally wouldn't be willing to do, to thinking we can achieve that. But if we really let that go, that idea go, let the tethers to that go, then there'll be one less point that can be used to manipulate us. I hope this is making sense the way I'm saying it. I'm trying to lay it out in a very understandable way, because the way I'm seeing it, it's very, well, it's shocking, actually. It's very shocking. It took me a couple days to settle in. And now that I've been here for 3-4 days, it's a little overwhelming to my own system to recognize these different loops. We had some wonderful cleansings and clearings go on within the light body community, and that was very helpful for me to settle in here and just perceive what's going on. There's so much happening here. So this time is like a balance between spending time with the people you love and appreciating what you have, and the connections, true connections, ones that really feel good, okay, that help you feel rooted in this reality. And then there's this, that needs to be harmonized and balanced with this crucial personal time to dive deep and reflect. And if you are in a family or community that utilizes ceremony, right, in this, then all the better. because then your close connections, we can all come together in some sort of focused intent to let go, to do whatever the process is that you're being called to. I know that there's many people doing cacao ceremonies during this time. There's also people doing different kinds of plant medicine ceremonies. You know, whatever your jam is, you know. I'm very simple. I just like to, my love language is I spend time with you. You know, we spend time together, we laugh together, we enjoy each other's company. That's my love language. So that's what I'm offering for being up here with my family. But you know, there's also the spiritual family, and we connect in that way. And we you know, find great value in the sum of our parts, because the sum of our parts as a community is much greater than, you know, than that. We are able to go into places, touch frequencies that normally cannot be touched individually. And this is where we're going as humanity grows. It's just we need to have the scaffolding set up to support that. And right now the scaffolding is set up to enhance our divides, to enhance our separations, you know, and that stuff is falling away. And I also get this feeling that many humans are terrified of this, and they also are going to fight tooth and nail to try to keep it. And unfortunately, that's where the big pain points come in. That's where the momentum for war gets held, you know. These polarity games are fascinating. I can spend many hours talking about them and the different angles that I see going on. Just know that there's the natural polarity, which is, you know, you work with energies that are in contrast to each other, you know, to create things that are in your heart, soul, mind to create, to use your creative energies to bring beauty, harmony, you know, expression, that kind of thing. But then there's this distortion polarity, which is all about the battle of who's right and who's wrong. And that's where a lot of people are really struggling to find their place. And of course, the collective field that's influenced with electronics and media and stuff like this is already bought and leveraged in a certain way that's going to hold that distortion in place. So I would say, even after you know, find a place for these things that I'm talking about, unplug for a while too. You know, see how long you can go without plugging, without, you know, turning the TV on, or how long you can go without watching the news. Many of us here are awake and have unplugged from the news, but there are some that aren't, because they've convinced themselves that they need to be informed. And it's funny because I never watch the news, and I'm informed in certain ways. And how am I informed in certain ways? The good old fashioned way. Someone wants to talk to me about it. Someone brings it up in a conversation, or they forward me something. Oh, hey, did you see this? La 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 la, you know. So this is, you know, so if it's really important, you'll find out. Trust me. Trust me. You're not, and I don't say that very often. You will find out, though. If it's important, you will find out. Yeah, so I'm in this deep reflective place. It's really difficult to switch gears here, but it's important that I do that, so this can land in a place that's very useful for you guys. There is a lot of intensities that are in the unseen, that are so close to being in our reality. So I can say that there are, you know, a series of 3 major intensities that are teed up, so to speak, for humanity to experience on a collective level. So, and this piece that I'm talking about, letting go of the past and really making peace inside yourself via the forgiveness, this is going to set us up in such a way where, as these things start to come into our reality and into our awareness, it won't be as hard hitting. Okay, it won't be as hard hitting. Because right now I'm staying at my youngest daughter's place, and she is a very interesting young lady. She really does exist outside of time and space. She rarely knows what day it is or what time it is, and it's really a miracle that someone her age in this stage of life is able to pull something like that off. Usually it's only when you're older and you have certain things in place where you're able to design your life to be that way. But she lives in it like full on. And I have to say, stepping into her dwelling, it's like in a way I resonate with it so easily, but in another way I feel like I'm kind of like I'm disoriented at the same time. It's very interesting. And I bring this up because, we are all very sensitive. We don't necessarily appreciate how sensitive we are. And when we are forcing ourselves to go into something, or we're around people that we know are not good for us, but we have to because of A, B, and C, we are impacted. We are absolutely impacted by that. And it's not about having stronger boundaries or shields or whatever. It's that this is our true nature as humans, to be very sensitive to each other, to be, to notice each other, to really see each other, feel each other in all these different ways. And so once we really embrace that as a value in our life moving forward, we'll make different decisions on who and how we engage in this reality, but also how we take care of ourselves. There's a lot of narratives, we'll say, in the religious world and the New Age world and spiritual, I'll just say spiritual world in general, that are completely backwards, and they don't really help empower us as multidimensional beings. And here's the thing, and I've talked about this before, but it's been a while since I've talked about it, so I'll just bring it up here again. Waking up to your multidimensional nature might at first look like a spiritual practice, but that quickly falls away once you awake through certain nesting dolls of your reality. And that's because the inception that influences and distorts our reality goes through many nesting dolls, including our connection to self, big S self, the capital S self, the creator self. Okay, this is why religions were able to take hold in the way that they are. This is why, as we evolve, we intuitively sense there's a big difference between being spiritual and being religious. Big difference between those two things, right? So, and then the next level, because the lie is different at every level. The next level is now there's lies within the spiritual community that we take on as the truth, and then we hold ourselves to this unrealistic measure, and that keeps us down because we're constantly comparing our progress to this unrealistic measure. It's not helping you. If anything, it's showing you how you're not enough. You see what I mean? That's a very inceptive program. So even in the spiritual circles, there's a lot of really backwards distortions. So as you wake up in the multidimensional level of who you are, you step out of those spiritual belief systems and teachings, because now you can truly orientate to how things are for you in moment to moment, real time, right? And of course, you've transcended the religious teachings because you understand that, the spirit of creators inside of you. You hold the spark of creation within. There's no church that you have to go to, or no clergy that you have to go to that's the intermediary of that, right? We're not truly born as sinners. That's a program. We're not truly a plague on this planet. That's a program. See, all that stuff. So as we wake up to our multidimensional nature, we speak about things in very different ways. And for certain people that are in belief systems, it's going to rub them the wrong way. And this is what I experience in a lot of spiritual circles. It's like there's certain perceptions, awarenesses that I'm acutely aware of, and I work with finding right relationship to that really challenge someone who's in a devout spiritual practice. even the star knowledge talk of the different star people that we're involved with. I have a very different relationship to all those things because I have experiences that are teaching me about how to become in right relationship. And the kinds of teachers that come into my world, very unorthodox. I mean, there's things that I talk about that's totally like, what? I've never heard that before. It's like, because these are teachings coming from deep within my own nature, you know, and my teachers brought that. They were really about me figuring out my nature and how to get the wisdom from within me and navigate my reality like that versus externally referencing all the time. The external reference is helpful when it's validating something that I'm already working with, you know, and some of these things are really kind of crazy that come up. And one of them was, I don't know, well, for those of you guys that have been listening for a long time, about, I would say about 3-4 years ago, I went down this rabbit hole with electricity and how electricity is an enslaved consciousness, and that every time we turn on a light or work electronic or something like that, we are contributing into the matrix pattern of enslavement. Okay. And I know that was really out there, and it's like people didn't really have a reference of what I was talking about. But now, several years later, it comes full circle, and I'm visiting that guidance again. And I'm like, yeah, you know, what's really difficult for humans to wake up to is the level of enslavement that we collude with, we say yes to, because our science, our, you know, all the different structures that tell us that things are a certain way, none of that is actually true. The only way forward, and I very rarely say only, okay, because I feel like there's, you know, a million ways to skin a cat here. No offense, Mo. That's the cat that's sitting over here. But open source code, free energy, things flowing freely from one person to the other. This is how we move forward in our next evolutionary step. This is how we find the right relationship to these really what we might call crisis moments that humanity is facing, you know. And of course, you know, this is something that goes against a lot of the distortions within reality. Like, you have intellectual licensing, you have ownership of certain spiritual teachings, you have ownership of electricity, you have ownership of this technology and suppression of that technology. And, you know, a great example I heard a story about Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton, you guys know, he's the guy that has done all that research study with epigenetics. And he's the one who discovered that a cell is not actually governed by the DNA in the center of the nucleus. It's actually governed by, the behavior is governed by its outer bilipid layer. And that your thoughts, your beliefs, your attitudes, all this stuff holds a field for your cell. And that is how your cell decides what to bring in and what to let out, is by the state of your being. Okay, completely blows out of the water the previous scientific model. Yet the college that he was in tenure with, he was not allowed to teach these new concepts to his students because it went against the accepted structure. You see what I mean? So it's like there's these ownerships that are declared, and that, you know, creates disruption and distorted perspectives. It perpetuates ignorance. Versus if everything was free flowing, ideas were free flowing, creativity was free flowing, money, or, well, resources, I would say, electricity, all this stuff, then we would have no need to contain and own these ideas, and we would just let it all flow freely and be enamored with each other's depth of creativity. Okay, this is where we're going. But you can see how deeply embedded these structures are within our systems. Your own body might be reacting to what I'm saying right now. Okay, that's because there's things still buried very deep in our subconscious that are holding things in place. You know, the spiritual lineages, I'm going to pick on those a bit, are extremely guilty of this. And that is because there's certain ideas that are acceptable, and then there are ideas that are not. And my question is, who is the one who decides what's acceptable? Right? It's like, because there's people that take teachings from profound beings don't see the full scope of what's being taught. They only understand a small segment of what's being taught, and they go on to regurgitate that instead of authentically sharing. And then that little snippet in its truncation and distortion gets repeated over and over and over and over again. And now that little snippet in its distortion is the prevailing idea through the spiritual communities. You see how that happens? It happens a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Ever since I awoke to these different multidimensional aspects of myself, I immediately became completely turned off by ceremonies. I used to love ceremony. I ran ceremonies for many years. I loved ceremonies. People loved my ceremonies. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. And then I woke up to these other levels and I was like, wow, something's really off about this. And I couldn't get myself excited or motivated or passionate about running any kind of ceremony. And it's very few and far between that I choose to go to different ceremonies. And most of them I'm not completely satiated with, because of these pieces, these distortions. But there are here and there some really beautiful ceremonies that are done, and it's because that person is doing it from their authentic nature inside. They're not regurgitating. They are in the moment with the energy speaking to it, and those rock my world. I love those ceremonies. Unfortunately, they happen few and far between. But anyway, so again, these pieces of distortions all have to get shook out, and what we're holding, the level that we're holding on to it is going to get shook. It's not if, it's when. Okay, so we can get ahead of this jarring by really being honest with ourselves and deeply examining these pieces. What keeps us from coming from an authentic place inside? What keeps us from being at peace with something inside of ourselves? Maybe it's something life dealt for us. Maybe it's just the scenario of the family that we're in. Maybe it's, the state of the world. Maybe it's, the rules of the country you're living in, or, whatever it may be. We can use those pieces to take them inside and get deeper peace through forgiveness, through letting go. And then we are more flexible and able to move. So when those deep challenges come up, we can move with them rather than getting jarred by them, because the jarring causes a sense of trauma, which hits our victimhood, which is even more difficult to get over. Trauma is deep. Trauma goes deep. It goes through our lineages, right? So when we are jarred by a spiritual lesson, it's hitting on ancestral patterns that are, harsh, intense. Okay. So I'm not saying this to sound threatening. I'm saying this that, it's in your interest to go into these levels and really look. It's in our interest to align our rhythms with that of the solar cycle and really let that solar cycle give us the momentum, okay, to realign ourselves to these cycles that we're in. There is a very interesting inception pattern that has been brought to my awareness that has to do with the 13 cycle in relation to the 12 cycle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what I'm talking about. And it's kind of like throwing a wrench into the works, and then our subconscious and our bodies are now in need of harmonizing this wrench, when really this wrench is not necessarily in its natural place within the cycle. Okay. So as we align into these solar cycles, as we align into the rhythms of what the sun is doing in relationship to this reality, we can close the opening, so to speak, for those wrenches to get put in there, and then we don't have to deal with them. We don't have to digest them, All right. I know I'm going to different places here, but it's difficult to really hammer this in. Hammering is probably not the right word, but it's difficult to get this piece in. You guys let me know. You let me know how this is landing, and if this is if you're able to work with it. If not, I can see if there's a different perspective to talk about this. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you guys a minute, see if you guys have something to say. So let's see, there was another piece in here that we needed to talk about. Let me look at it. This came forward in a lab, I think. Okay. So that is it's in the vein of letting go and dealing with the deep grief that stops us from truly looking at and giving the command within ourselves to let go, because who we think we are is attached to a lot of these pieces, and it's scary to lose touch with who you think you are. And this is really a vestige. This is a vestige of the old paradigm. It's really important for us to let go, because once we let go of the who we think we are, we're more available to our authentic self, when we're available to be real in the moment when things are happening. Another level on why this is so important is because, like, you know how we take in knowledge? There's all this knowledge, the internet, there's wisdom. I don't know about wisdom, but there's all this information, and people gobble up information, right? We're gobbling up this information, and there's like an identity we have with gobbling up this information. And maybe we take on the identity of the conspiracy theorist. Maybe we take on the identity of the renegade. Maybe we take on the identity of the righteous one who's going to speak truth to the ignorant masses, blah, 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 right? And we get a little bit of a satisfaction, or even a sense of duty playing these roles. Okay. But here's the thing, all this information, until it's like really integrated into your being and it's changing how you actually be inside of yourself, okay, it's not authentic. It's not authentic until that happens. And this information is all different spectrums. A lot of it's conflicting, a lot of it's incepted, a lot of it is neither here nor there, a lot of it is emotionally charged stuff. You know, it's coming from other people's universes that maybe aren't in congruency with our own inner universe. You know, it's just coming, and it's overwhelming, and it keeps us from being really in the here and now. So when we let go of the who we think we are, the duties, the calls, all these things, and we focus on how we be, what starts to happen is that instead of being overwhelmed with information, or having your bandwidth of attention consumed with taking in this information, instead what happens is that you become activated. And this is a very big difference. Becoming activated is different than taking in information and digesting. Okay. Taking in information digestion takes a lot of energy. It takes the time and energy to take in the information, to listen to it, to read it, or whatever. And then there's the contemplation, and then there's this, and then there's that, right? But to get activated, that is activating an energy pattern inside of you. It's activating a DNA dance inside of you. And now you are forever changed with that activation. Okay. The rub is that the activation occurs, and now you need to honor the truth inside and align your lifestyle to accommodate that activation. You see what I mean? Very different things. One is very mind heavy, and the other one is just your energy, your core being heavy. Okay. Your core being, let's call it your spirit, your heart catches on with your spirit very close, you know, boom, here it is, right? They're very sympathetic to each other. Then it's the mind to get in alignment. It's the who you think you are to get in the alignment. That is how that is potential for reality moving forward, is activating instead of informing. Okay. The informing is so, like I said, so chaotic. It's so manipulated. It's like really heavy, takes a lot of energy, blah, 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 blah. But if we really pay attention and take care of, carve out a space for us for how we be, we get activated, we get activated, we get activated. And now it's not a big effort to take in all this overwhelm. It's now about changing your life. And then other people are doing the micro movements they need to do to change their lives, to accommodate their activations. And then that quickly domino affects the entire collective. Okay. And that is how wars end. That is how systems can crumble, because we are being activated. And then we are adapting the change in value system because of that activation. Okay. It's an inside out change, literally. So, so there's a few different ways to go, like I said, to go about it. But if we start with really letting go of those structures of who we think we are, of the parts of us that want vengeance or to get back at, or want to be right about something, or, dominate or whatever, we really get into the groove with that and call on our ancestors and help summon forgiveness frequencies in those dynamics in our subconscious. That's going to set the stage for us to be in the right position, just in the perfect place for these activations to occur from within, and we can make the life changes we need to make to accommodate. Okay. Okay, there we go. I was able to get that part out. Excellent. Thank you, guys. We must have shifted. All right. So, I remember when I was younger, I would feel like a lightning strike, a spiritual lightning socket come, and I'd be kind of fearful. I would want it, but then be afraid of it at the same time, because, it usually meant I have to change everything about my life. But now it's like, I'm like, bring it on, because right now, as things are, it's like, I'm not necessarily pleased to be in this particular collective right now. It's like, it's really difficult to see all this, to be among this suffering that people are in, it's more than that. It's confusion. It's a field of confusion, a field of chaos, with undertones of resentment, undertones of like being at the edge of completely losing it. We went to this beautiful, it was a Christmas lighting walk through an arboretum. Absolutely gorgeous. And there's families everywhere, but you can feel the collective of the families. It's like they were there, they were trying to make the best out of it. They wanted to have a good time, but there was this underlying tension that was in the group. And I was with a family, but I was, feeling with all these other ones. And it was like the older people there were just grateful that they're there with their families. They're in a very different perspective. But then, the ones that are active in the world, like really like working and taking care of babies and all this stuff, you can feel that stress. There was like a heaviness here, but wanting to be light. There's heaviness, but wanting to be light. You know what I mean? So people are really busy and distracted. And this activation piece that I'm talking about, I feel like, is a brilliant solution to the problem, because people have only so much bandwidth, and it's not realistic to say, okay, I'm going to completely quit my livelihood, that things that are, paying all the bills and making my life comfortable and making opportunities for my family, and I'm going to just do something else. That's not a very realistic option for people. Now, when they have no choice and their back is against the wall, then they'll be forced to make that decision, and maybe they'll make it in that direction, maybe they won't. But with this activation piece that I'm talking about, it's something that just happens. It's like you're walking along the street, and all of a sudden, ta-da, something turns on inside. You're like, whoa, like a realization, epiphany happens, right? Or you wake up one day and you just feel completely different. So in a way, this activation piece is it's a stroke of brilliance from creation. When I say creation, that's the spark that is inside of each of you, that spark inside of each of you. has a creative brilliance that's beyond what the powers that be, the controllers that be, have access to, which is really cool. But again, you know, there's those that are holding on to the old, and there's those that are making way for the new. The more we make this change inside of ourselves, the more grace and ease for the new to come in. The more the holding on to the old, the more strife, the more internal war battle goes on. How long that's going to be, who knows? It's hard to say. But what can be, what's palpable is that when you have a group of people that are very successful and they're having all their needs met and they're soaring in their creativity and creating beauty, and you have a group of people that are in extreme suffering that, you know, they're deeply invested in the desperation program, it's only a matter of time before they start to come over and want to take over this program, you know, this stuff over here, right? So it's not okay to say, well, screw them, that's they're just being ignorant. It's not okay to say that, because they're in the same ocean you're in. You guys, we're all sharing this reality together, you know. To say, you know, out with them and in with us, and oh well, no. We need to still pay attention to what's happening over here. We need to still engage with them. We still need to be woven into the reality, so to speak. Okay? We are needed. Our presence is needed even more in those realities. So I hope you guys can feel what I'm saying with that, you know, because there is a tendency to want to be like, I'm out of here, go somewhere else, you know. In some ways, people can accuse me of doing this because I decided to move south of the border. But really, my decision to go south of the border was for a few reasons. One is to help facilitate this life transition I'm in, but also to reinform my energy in a different way. Because where I feel like I am going on a personal level, that energy signature is in resonance of that. Okay, so I would say that outside looking in, it can be claimed that I'm doing that, but I'm not. I'm reinforming my energy in a different way so I can get to a different place than what I've gone to working in this other reality. So I hope everybody is able to digest what I'm talking about here and find their place inside, where it is they're going to reflect and dive deep and invoke that forgiveness into themselves, and in that find deep peace, grow a peaceful garden inside. You know, this being at the beginning of the new solar cycle, this momentum will continue for the whole next cycle. So that's why it's such an important moment to do it. Embracing the cycles that we're in is very potent. So, okay, I'm gonna check in. Nope, no, all right, no. You guys must be multitasking or something. All right, darlings. Well, I hope everybody finds some time in this solstice to go within, do this work. Please, I hope you also really enjoy the people around you, your connections. You find love and rootedness within your closest circles. This is a excellent time to be alive in this realm, in this reality. So I don't mean to say, if I was sounding doom and gloom, I don't mean to. It's supposed to be promising, it's supposed to be uplifting. in my view, it's uplifting. Anyway, so with all that said, thank you everybody for giving me your precious attention for this chat. If you guys are wanting to join into our community and do your part of building a strong energy field and coming into your own self as a multidimensional human, I encourage you guys to check out our Light Body Essentials program. That's 3 meetings a month, and it's an ongoing subscription where we meet and do these practices to activate our multidimensional nature and to practice how to navigate this human reality in that nature. So that's at lightbodyacademy.com. Thank you, everybody. We shall see you next time. Bye-bye.